Osrc News at 7. Ondo State government signs partnership to power 25 remotely located communities. Calls for privatization of Nigeria's refineries grow louder. 3.5 million Nigerian children suffer acute malnutrition as 400,000 risk preventable deaths. And from the foreign scene, backlash grows after Ukraine's president strips anti-corruption bodies of independence. Good evening and welcome to the news at 7. I am Obi Chukwemeka Oti. The Ondo State Government and the Rural Electrification Agency REA have signed a memorandum of understanding to improve access to electricity in underserved communities. The partnership signals a commitment to ensuring that access to electricity becomes a launchpad for jobs, innovation, equity, and sustainable prosperity in Ondo State. At the rendezvous in Abuja, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa commended REA for the strategic dialogue which aligns with his administration's vision for energy access, economic growth, and inclusive development. He noted that Ondo State has become a destination of choice for mini-grid and renewable energy developers due to its clear regulatory pathways and targeted fiscal incentives. REA Managing Director Abba Aliyu revealed that the agency has a funding pipeline of nearly $1.6 billion to drive renewable energy projects across Nigeria, stressing that it plans to energize 25 communities in Ondo State through the partnership. Ondo State Commissioner for Energy and Mineral Resources, Johnson Alabi, emphasized that the state has taken bold steps to harness renewable energy resources, as well as the roundtable discussion aimed to deepen partnerships and craft actionable pathways towards a cleaner, more resilient energy future. And as Nigeria continues to grapple with its long-standing power supply challenges, solar energy is emerging as a beacon of hope for individuals, communities, and governments alike. With a growing desire to reduce reliance on the national grid and cut down carbon emissions, solar power is fast becoming an attractive and sustainable alternative. Osrc's Akinrotoye Abideme reports.
For decades, Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, has been plagued by a crippling electricity deficit, stalling development and frustrating daily lives. Frequent collapses of the national grid have become a recurring nightmare, triggering blackouts that disrupt livelihoods and slow down economic progress. But the narrative is beginning to shift, driven by necessity and innovation. A wave of transformation is sweeping across the energy landscape, turning solar energy from a luxury into a necessity for households, businesses, and public institutions. From illuminating street lights to powering homes, communities, and government agencies, solar power is steadily becoming a vital component of Nigeria's economic mix.
There are two different things. For instance, if you have electricity, most of the problem that people have with electricity is that once they pay the money for the electricity, no matter the case may be, they don't enjoy their lights, and they will definitely make use of coming to come and collect their money. But in terms of solar, it is 24 hours usage, and it depends on the capacity.
The light is 24/7, and I use it to charge phone at the same time to light bulb.
With improved technology and falling costs of solar panels, the transition to solar is no longer out of reach. For many Nigerians, it offers a reliable, long-term solution to persistent electricity woes.
For up to almost 8 months now, we don't have lights. So we usually use almost a petrol generator. So preferably, I think solar energy is so much better for the citizens to use for now. If the federal government can be able to empower people, giving them solar, think that's the best option. Because we won't be able to rely on NEPA. By the time we are relying on NEPA, anything can happen. So, like what happened last time when they brought the lights, in fact, all my electrics just got damaged.
The widespread adoption of solar energy is also enhancing Nigeria's energy security and environmental sustainability, buoyed by supportive government policies and strategic initiatives. A significant example is the federal government's 10 billion naira investment in a solar power system for the Osrc presidential villa, an unspoken admission of the national grid's shortcomings. The acting managing director of the Ondo State Power Energy, Mayowa Ajumobi, underscores the unreliability of the grid.
They will have to look for the alternative. And what is the alternative that is available? Solar. Solar is the form of energy that is relatively free, other than you purchasing the equipment you need, the solar panels, the batteries, and the inverters. So when you are not getting ready supply from the national grid, then you have to choose the best alternative, which is solar. So basically that's the reason people are shifting. It's not because they want to. If the grid is there, they will stick to the grid because it's cheaper. But with a unstable grid, you have to shift to the alternative.
He highlights the state government's proactive efforts to take control of its energy future, ensuring more stable, accessible, and beneficial electricity supply for all residents of Ondo State. Ajumobi emphasized that solar initiatives and conventional power efforts are being harmonized to secure consistent power delivery across the state.
Now that the state is taking charge, like I told you, the governor has gone to Abuja yesterday with the commissioner for energy and all the other personnel to sign an agreement to ensure that 26 communities benefit from solar. You understand? But at the same time too, they are also working. We are working hand in hand to ensure that grid connection, which is the cheaper form of energy, gets to as many people as possible.
As Nigeria begins to shift from dependence on the fragile national grid to embrace the potential of solar energy, a new era of energy independence is dawning. Despite persistent challenges, solar power holds immense promise, lighting the path to a brighter, cleaner, and more reliable energy future for millions of Nigerians. Abidemi Akinrotoye, Osrc News.
There is a great growing support among Nigerians and oil marketers for the proposed sale of Nigeria's refineries, currently managed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL). Many believe that privatizing the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries will open up the downstream sector to healthy competition, potentially reduce fuel prices, and put an end to what they describe as a financial drain. Blessing Obe reports.
Established in 1977, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has long been at the heart of the nation's oil operations. Between 1978 and 1989, the company constructed refineries in Warri, Kaduna, and Port Harcourt, and also acquired Shell's 35,000 barrel per day refinery in Port Harcourt, built in 1965. But over the years, poor maintenance and delayed rehabilitation efforts have crippled these facilities. Now calls for their sale or privatization are growing louder, especially in the wake of reports that over $18 billion have been spent on maintenance with little to show for it. NNPC's Executive Vice President Bayo Ojulari recently disclosed that the refineries designed to process a combined 445,000 barrels per day are outdated, and ongoing rehabilitation efforts have not met expectations. Reactions to the proposed sale are mixed. Some Nigerians say privatization is the best route to efficiency and sustainability.
If the government decided to let other refinery go, it was the advantage of the Nigerians, simply because those refineries will be able to perform maximally, and economically we have advantages. Now you are talking about adversary effects on economy. it will boost the economy, because anybody that wants to buy it is going to business privately and is going to monitor it efficiently so that the production of petroleum products will be maximized and it will not allow any scarcity to come up.
Let private investors manage. Government has no business doing business. It will be killed by a lot of bureaucracy, executive red tape. These are part of the things why private investment is what we are putting that money for. And that is what we want. If you look at the amount of money they are spent compared with what Dangote has spent, you know that it's sheer waste of resources of government to continue to manage the white elephant profit.
Others, while cautiously optimistic, fear the move could have negative economic implications.
Very wrong idea. If the refineries should be sold, what will now be the benefit of the masses? It's a wrong idea, and the idea should be jettisoned. Instead of that, they should try to repair the remaining ones, so that, if possible, the price of fuel will come down. Then the masses will be able to avoid as many liters as possible.
Selling the refinery now is to add another problem financially and economically on the populace of Nigeria. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's a very unreasonable decision on the part of the government. They have to do so.
NNPC says it is currently reviewing its refinery strategy and expects to complete the reassessment by the end of the year. As the process unfolds, stakeholders are calling for transparency, inclusiveness, and accountability to ensure that the goals of the privatization plan are fully achieved. Blessing Obe, Osrc News.
In part 2, after the break, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has kicked off its 101st National Executive Committee NEC meeting in Abuja. We'll bring you details of this and more in a moment. Join us again.
Nigerians' commitment to achieving universal health care coverage is reflected in the unwavering dedication of my administration to uphold this right for every individual, young or old, in rural or urban areas. Health is not merely the absence of disease, but the embodiment of physical, mental, and social well-being. It is a fundamental human right.
Nigeria as a global agricultural powerhouse, supplying quality produce to international markets while ensuring every citizen has access to affordable nutrition.
Powered by Grassroots Movement for Tinubu GMT, Ondo State Chapter. GMT, in God we trust.
Thank you very much for staying with us. If you just joined us, you're watching Osrc News at 7, coming to you live from our station. You can watch us live on our website, www.osrc.ng, or follow us on Facebook at Osrc TV. And on YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel, Osrc TV Ondo. Now to the rest of the news. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) has kicked off its 101st National Executive Committee NEC meeting in Abuja. The three-day gathering, which will be rounded off on Friday, is expected to address key party matters, internal reforms and strategic planning ahead of the 2027 general elections. National Publicity Secretary of the party, Debo Ologunagba, who stated this, said the meeting is being held at the PDP National Secretariat in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The meeting, according to Ologunagba, is coming amid ongoing efforts by the party to reposition itself itself and consolidate its national presence and electoral strength. PDP had been immersed in crisis for a long time, with members hoping that the NEC meeting would resolve all the problems within the party and put it in proper stead for the 2027 election. Meanwhile, 4 senators elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), representing their various senatorial districts in the present 10th Senate, have formally dumped their party for the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC). President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, read their letters separately in the chamber, where they cited irreconcilable differences in the opposition PDP as reason for their cross-carpeting. The senators, who decount formally as Senators Francis Fadaunsi Osun East and Oluwole Olubi Osun Central. Others are Senators Aniekan Basi Akwa Ibom North East and Samson Ekong Akwa Ibom South. Following the defection of the 4 senators, the updated composition of the Senate now stands at APC 70, PDP 28, Labour Party 5, NMPP 1, SDP 2, and APGA 1. The Federal High Court in Lagos has struck out the 12.3 billion naira fraud charge filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) against Dr. Otudeku and 3 others after the anti-graft agency formally withdrew the case. The FCC had arraigned Otudeku and 3 others in a 13-count charge. The defendants were accused of conspiring to fraudulently obtain 12.3 billion naira from a bank under the guise of credit facilities. At today's proceedings, EFCC counsel Rotimi Oyedepo told Justice Chukwu Jekwaneke that the matter had been amicably resolved between the nominal complainant and the first defendant, Otudeku. After hearing the submissions, Justice Aneke struck out the suit to the satisfaction of both parties. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control (NAFDAC) has uncovered and sealed a warehouse stocked with 88,000 liters of controlled chemicals, including sulfuric and nitric acid, used for explosives in Kano. According to the Director General of NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye, the warehouse contained 60,000 liters of sulfuric acid and 28,500 liters of nitric acid, alongside 330 empty jerrycans whose content had been dispensed to unknown persons. The DG explained that the chemicals were discovered by vigilant NAFDAC officers, adding that upon arrival, only the warehouse manager and employee was found and arrested. Professor Adeyeye assured that the chemicals will be destroyed properly in line with regulatory procedures to safeguard public safety. The Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Shehu Mohammed, has raised serious concerns over rising cases of indiscipline, bribery, drug abuse, and misconduct among personnel, warning that these issues threaten to erode public trust and undermine the Corps' credibility. Speaking at the 2025 half-year strategy session held in Abuja, Mohammed delivered a firm directive to commanding officers, urging them to address emerging behavioral threats within the agency and to uphold discipline across all levels. The Corps Marshal emphasized that commanders must take responsibility for the conduct of their personnel, warning that inaction could damage the Corps' institutional integrity. Mohammed urged officers to recommit to professionalism and accountability, noting that the Corps must begin to reward performance while penalizing misconduct. He praised the Corps for noticeable improvements in responsiveness and enforcement in recent months. Now to Imo State, where residents of Umualuako community in Ehimembano local government area have been thrown into panic as unidentified gunmen invaded the area, unleashing hours of continuous gunfire. The attackers stormed the area, firing indiscriminately and forcing residents to remain indoors. in fear and confusion. Confirming the incident, the spokesperson for the Imo State Police Command, Henry Okoye, said the command was aware of the situation and had deployed tactical teams to the area. He further alleged that attackers were suspected members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra and its armed wing, Eastern Security Network. The development is the latest in a series of violent attacks in Imo State, where communities have come under repeated siege in recent months by armed assailants targeting both civilians and security operatives. We'll go on another break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The Nigeria Broadcasting Awards, TMBA, is back for its second edition. Are you the voice behind the mic, the face on the screen, or the producer of that story that moved the nation? Broadcasters from Bond member stations can now submit their best work. Entries open from July 1st to July 31st, 2025. There are 12 award categories, each for radio and television, from Best Station of the Year to Best News, Drama, Sports, Documentary, and Talk Shows, whether in English or rendered in indigenous languages. Eligible entries are for works aired between January 1st and December 31st, 2024. Do you have what it takes to be named Presenter of the Year, Reporter of the Year, Newscaster of the Year, or Channel of the Year? Then visit www.tmbaawards.ng on how to submit your entries. The Nigeria Broadcasting Awards, celebrating excellence.
You're welcome back. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, says 3.5 million children in Nigeria are suffering from severe acute malnutrition. It also said 400,000 children risk preventable deaths in 1 month and 8 days due to severe malnutrition. UNICEF Nigeria's Chief of Field Operations and Emergencies, Judith Laveye, made the statement at a meeting in Abuja focused on the European Union's support for victims of the yellow water crisis in Benue State and the nutrition emergency in the northeast and northwest. Laveye said with the development the country faces a stockout of its essential nutrition commodities. She called on the government to take full leadership in taking charge and coordinating the response, stating that international NGOs were ready to collaborate. Moving on to the foreign scene, a prominent singer was among former Venezuelan migrants who have returned to their families after spending months detained in a notorious prison in El Salvador before being sent back to Venezuela. Singer Arturo Suarez was greeted with hugs and tears in working-class El Valle, south of capital Caracas, by his sister, aunt, and cousins. He later wiped away tears as he spoke to his wife and daughter. Here is Akintunde Akeshimola with the details.
Arturo Suarez tearfully reunited with his family in Venezuela on Tuesday after being released from a month-long detention in El Salvador's notorious Cesar prison.
Pensé en mi hija, pensé en mi esposa, pensé en mi hermana, Olivia.
I thought of my daughter, thought of my wife, thought of my brothers and my family. That gave me strength not to give up, not to let myself die. And I didn't let myself. I didn't let myself because I'm a warrior. I'm Venezuelan, and we made ourselves heard in El Salvador.
Suarez, a singer, was one of the first of more than 250 Venezuelans to arrive home after being sent back to Venezuela last week in a prisoner exchange. The Venezuelans were sent to El Salvador from the United States in March after US President Donald Trump invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged gang members without normal immigration procedures. Suarez had gone to the US to boost his music career, according to his wife. Family members and lawyers of many of the men deny they had gang ties. Suarez said the guards at the censored prison beat prisoners and told them they would only leave dead. His comments tally with other allegations of abuse made by former prisoners in videos broadcast on state television. Venezuela's Attorney General said his office will investigate El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele and other top officials for the alleged abuse of the detainees. Bukele's office has not responded to requests for comments. Akintunde Akinshemola for Osrc News.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has signed a bill that would revoke the autonomy of key anti-corruption agencies, a plan that has triggered real street demonstrations in the country's capital, Kyiv. Critics say the legislation consolidates power in Zelensky's hands and will allow government meddling in high-profile corruption cases.
Just as quickly he signed this law, just as quickly he should put a veto now. Because I think that with these events, he's very much losing his authority, and it's not the right time for him, for us, for the country, neither for us internally nor for us externally.
I wouldn't want the path we've been on for more than 10 years and the one we have been traveling since the beginning of the full-scale invasion to be crushed by political decisions.
Now talking sports, Nigeria have reached the final of the 13th Women Africa Cup of Nations after a turgid and dramatic semi-final in Casablanca that saw cup holder South Africa send packing thanks to a late goal by defender Michelle Alozie. Captain Rasheedat Ajibade, who had scored the penalty goal that separated both teams in their final Paris 2024 Olympics qualifying fixture last year, stepped forward in the 44th minute for Super Falcons opener. In the 56th minute, defender Osinachi Ohale pulled back forward Damini in the box, gifting the Bayana a penalty, which Linda Motale stepped forward and struck past Chiamaka Nnadozie. Just as both teams were settling for extra minutes in added time of the second period, Alozie's lofted ball from the Nigerian defense missed everyone. Aniyozo and midfielder Deborah Abiodun wrong-footed Damini as the ball went untouched into Bayana net. Victory means the Super Falcons' first win over the Bayana in the Africa Cup of Nations in the three tournaments, with the South Africans having won group stage matches in 2018 and 2022 with 1-0 and 2-1 score lines respectively. Nigeria will now play Morocco in Saturday's final after the hosts beat Ghana on penalties.
lebhola lizonikezwa uMichelle Alozie kuthiwa igoli lika Michelle Alozie awuzachitheka ishebo sachitheka sekuphakwa nomdlalo wesekusele nje amanenjana ukuthi uphele igoli lika Michelle Alozie leli kusuka nje le kude.
To round off the news at 7, here again other major stories. We told you that Ondo State Government and Rural Electrification Agency have partnered to improve access to electricity in underserved communities in the state. Calls for the sale of privatization of Nigerian refineries grow louder among stakeholders. We also told you that UNICEF has warned that 3.5 million children in Nigeria suffer from severe acute malnutrition, as 400,000 children risk preventable deaths. And from the foreign scene, Ukraine's government is facing growing backlash after President Zelensky signed a law limiting independence of two anti-corruption agencies. And that's the news at 7. Many thanks for being a part of it. Good evening.